As the heavy glass doors shut behind them, the atmosphere shifted. Inside the district police station, Jungkook sat down across from two senior investigators, flanked by HYB's legal team. Though not required to be present, Jin chose to remain within the building, seated quietly in a private waiting area, refusing interviews or breaks, his expression reportedly tense but composed. Staff described his presence as a silent wall, standing firm for his younger brother. Investigators began by walking Jungkook through the timeline of the Sasaeng incident that occurred less than 2 weeks ago. According to security reports submitted by HYB, a female individual known for past stalking behavior had made her way past the main gate of Jungkook's residence. Although apprehended before direct contact occurred, the break-in itself is now considered a high-level breach, sparking a broader criminal investigation. The intruder allegedly had information on Jungkook's schedule, floor plan, and even a list of close family contacts, leading authorities to suspect a coordinated effort rather than an isolated obsession. Sources close to the investigation confirmed that Jungkook remained composed during the 3-hour interview but appeared visibly shaken when asked to describe the emotional aftermath. One officer later said, "He was professional, but there were moments you could tell this has deeply affected his trust in people, even in his own home." Meanwhile, Jin never once left the police station. Staff said he declined coffee and instead asked only once, "Is he okay?" When told that Jungkook was doing his best, Jin reportedly lowered his head and whispered, "He shouldn't have to go through this." Outside the station, fans began gathering quietly, holding purple signs that read, "Army with Jungkook," and "Privacy is a right, not a gift." Though HYB did not allow filming or photos inside, a blurry image of Jungkook walking past the interview room with his shoulders slightly slumped quickly circulated online. It became symbolic, an image of vulnerability rarely seen from the idol known for his strength and stage dominance. By early evening, Jungkook finally emerged, escorted by both HYB legal staff and Jin. He did not speak to the press, but Jin briefly turned to the cameras, bowed deeply, and said, "Thank you for supporting him. We'll get through this together." The media response was immediate. News anchors and commentators debated how Sasaeng behavior has crossed into a new era of extremism. A top Korean journalist from SBS commented, "This is no longer a fan issue. This is a criminal network issue. And Jungkook's case is just the beginning." HYB later issued a second press release, confirming that legal charges against the Sasaeng in question were being escalated to the national level. Bang Si-hyuk himself is expected to hold a press conference next week to outline HYB's new security and legal reforms for all artists under the company's umbrella. According to insiders, those reforms include the use of AI-driven threat detection systems, private investigator teams, and direct partnerships with cybercrime units across Asia. As for Jungkook, he has now returned to his residence under 24/7 surveillance and protection. Jin remains close, reportedly staying at Jungkook's home for as long as needed. This moment, while painful, has shown the world a deeper side of BTS's brotherhood and a sobering truth about the cost of fame. For fans, it has sparked a larger conversation. How much longer must idols pay for their success with their safety? The world will be watching as the case unfolds. Would you like to follow up with the press conference scene with Bang Si-hyuk next? Or a fictional fan response from Jungkook's family perspective? 3 days after Jungkook's emotionally charged visit to the police station, HYB's headquarters in Yongsan was swarmed by reporters, legal observers, fans, and even rival entertainment industry representatives. The reason? A rare public appearance by Bang Si-hyuk, the elusive founder and chairman of HYB, known for keeping a low profile. But today, with the world still reeling from the Sasaeng break-in targeting BTS's Golden Magne, Bang was stepping forward, not as a CEO, but as a protector. Standing at a sleek black podium against a backdrop of HYB's logo, Bang Si-hyuk appeared composed but stern. Cameras clicked furiously as he opened the press conference with a heavy pause, looking straight into the crowd before declaring, what happened to Jungkook was not an isolated incident. It was the culmination of years of unchecked violations, and it stops now. Gasps were heard across the room. Bang outlined HYB's new policy framework called the Artist Protection Reform Initiative, APRI. Among its measures, 24/7 real-time AI surveillance systems tailored to each artist's residential and movement patterns, legal teams dedicated exclusively to handling stalker threats, both online and offline, immediate blacklisting and prosecution of any Sasaeng activity, no longer requiring internal reviews. HYB funded psychological counseling for artists affected by trauma or harassment. Reporters fired questions, and Bang answered them all without hesitation. One journalist from KBS asked bluntly, "Why did it take Jungkook being targeted inside his own home for HYB to act?" Bang's reply was equally direct, "Because it's no longer about just Jungkook. It could be anyone next, and that's a failure I take responsibility for." Perhaps most strikingly, Bang confirmed that the Sasaeng arrested for entering Jungkook's home had connections with a larger online black market group trafficking in idol schedules, home addresses, and even leaked internal HYB communications. The Seoul Cybercrimes Unit has now partnered with HYB to investigate this network, a case that may lead to multiple arrests across East Asia. While the press conference remained serious and focused, Bang briefly shifted to emotion when asked about the moment Jin accompanied Jungkook to the police station. He didn't come as a celebrity. He came as a brother. "That's who they are when the cameras are off," Bang said, voice wavering slightly. Following the press conference, a pre-recorded message from Jungkook himself was released through HYB's official channels. In the message, his voice was steady but intimate. "To the fans who've stayed by my side, I'm okay, because Hyung is with me. I just want to live like any other person, not with fear behind my front door. Please help us end this." The message was less than a minute long, but it triggered a tidal wave of response from global armies. Petitions were launched. Fanbases organized coordinated efforts to report Sasaeng's social media accounts, and hashtags like #JusticeForJungkook and #ProtectAllIdols trended #1 worldwide for over 18 hours. One fan wrote, "If we love them, we protect them, not follow them,
not stalk them,
not scare them." Industry experts are now calling this moment a watershed in K-pop history. The first time a company of HYB's scale has publicly declared war on Sasaeng culture with full legal, technological, and emotional resources. Meanwhile, Jin remains by Jungkook's side, temporarily pausing public schedules to support his younger brother through the next phases of legal proceedings. Sources say Jungkook has resumed vocal training in private and hopes to return to music with strength, not fear. And though the world cheered when Jungkook stood on stage next to Jin and J-Hope just days ago, it's what happened off stage, in courtrooms, press conferences, and late-night phone calls, that will define this new chapter of BTS. A chapter not just of music, but of protection, justice, and brotherhood. Would you like a continuation from the Sasaeng's courtroom trial next, or a more emotional scene between Jungkook and Jin in private? In a packed courtroom under strict security, Jungkook of BTS took the witness stand for the first time in his decade-long career, not for an award, not for a speech, but to confront a nightmare that no idol should ever have to live through. The Sasaeng stalker, identified only as Miza for legal reasons, was seated behind a wall of lawyers and glass. But even with the barrier, the air was thick with tension as the youngest member of the world's biggest group gave his testimony. Jin sat just behind him, eyes locked on the defendant, arms crossed, jaw clenched. Wearing a navy blue suit and no makeup, Jungkook looked pale but resolute. He spoke softly but firmly, detailing the night the Sasaeng infiltrated his residential security system. The courtroom was silent as he recounted how she slipped into the building using a delivery uniform, bypassing 3 floors of protection, and reached his personal hallway door before being stopped by a staff member returning from a schedule. "I felt like my skin was ripped off, that my home wasn't my home anymore," Jungkook told the court. He then turned, for a moment, to look at Jin, who gave him a short nod, the kind only family understands. The prosecution revealed disturbing details. Mize had allegedly been part of a Sasaeng group chat that auctioned idol data, including where they eat, their favorite stores, and in some horrifying cases, private medical records. Prosecutors described the group as a digital black market of obsession. The judge allowed audio recordings to be played. One featured Ms. A giggling as she said, "If I can just see Jungkook asleep, it's worth being arrested." At that moment, Jin's expression changed. His jaw tightened and he closed his eyes. Witnesses said his hands gripped the seat so tightly his knuckles turned white. HYB's legal team requested the court sentence Ms. A to the maximum penalty allowed under South Korea's Enhanced Stalker Prevention Act, which includes criminal trespass, intent to harm, and illegal data acquisition. In his closing words, Jungkook didn't express anger. He expressed exhaustion. "I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for peace. For myself, for my family, for my brothers, for every artist who wakes up afraid." He then bowed toward the judge, walked down from the stand, and silently leaned against Jin outside the courtroom. For the first time all day, Jungkook's mask cracked. His lips trembled, and Jin didn't speak. He simply wrapped his arms around him, holding him close in the hallway as the cameras respectfully kept their distance. The verdict is expected to come within the next 10 days, but for armies, the message is already clear. Jungkook has stood his ground. With Jin beside him, with the world watching, and with the backing of a company finally stepping up, he turned fear into action, into justice. And for now, at least, the Golden Magne sleeps tonight knowing the door is locked, not just with bolts, but with the power of truth. Would you like this made into a dramatic video script or cinematic narration next? Following the emotional court proceedings, the world didn't just move on. It stopped and listened. Media outlets from Seoul to Sao Paulo ran headlines like, "Jungkook faces a stalker in court, the idol who refused to be silent," and "BTS's Jin stands by Jungkook, brotherhood beyond fame." But it wasn't just the press that reacted. Social media exploded. Within hours of the trial footage being legally summarized by local reporters, hashtags like #JusticeForJungkook, #ProtectOurIdols, and #ThankYouJin topped Twitter's global trends. Millions of armies organized coordinated reports to take down Sasaeng fan pages, with international fan bases even translating anti-stalker guidelines into over 20 languages to educate newer fans. Fan art of Jungkook and Jin holding hands in solidarity flooded platforms like Instagram and TikTok, while emotional reaction videos from fans across cultures went viral. But what truly shook fans to their core was a personal message released that evening from Jungkook himself, pre-recorded, dimly lit, no stage, no special effects. Just him, seated beside Jin, looking directly into the camera. He began with a deep breath. "I never thought I'd have to stand in a courtroom for something like this. But I did. And I'm proud I did." He then paused, looked at Jin, and smiled gently. "Hyung told me that being strong doesn't mean staying silent. It means saying no more." So that's what I said today. No more. Jin didn't speak in the message. He simply placed his hand on Jungkook's shoulder, his presence more powerful than words. Jungkook continued, "To every fan who respects us, who protects us, who loves us the right way, thank you. I'm okay. Not because this didn't hurt, but because I'm not alone." HYB followed the message with a formal legal update. Ms. A was officially convicted of criminal trespass, intent to cause emotional harm, and organized stalking, and sentenced to 30 months in prison, plus mandatory psychological rehabilitation. The judge emphasized the impact of her actions not just on Jungkook, but on the entire ecosystem of public figures whose privacy continues to be violated in the name of fame. In a rare move, Bang Si-hyuk also released a second written statement. "This is not the end. We will continue to prosecute, investigate, and fortify. Every artist deserves safety. Every stalker will face consequences." Meanwhile, artists from other K-pop groups, EXO, TWICE, TXT, even actors under different labels, began voicing support. What once was taboo to speak about publicly, Sasaeng harassment, had become a national conversation. Experts even debated whether South Korea would pass an expanded law now referred to by journalists as Jungkook's Law, focusing on idol protection, stricter online anonymity regulations, and penalties for doxing. As for Jungkook, he's reportedly returned to a private training facility in Goyang, with Jin still nearby. Fans spotted them briefly exiting a cafe, no security, Just the two of them, hoods up, walking under the drizzle. One fan wrote on Weverse, "I didn't ask him for a photo. I just said, 'I'm proud of you.' He bowed, and so did Jin. That's all I needed." And perhaps that's the legacy of this painful chapter. Not fear, not shame, but dignity, justice, and the unbreakable bond between brothers, both by blood and by choice. Because in a world where obsession crosses the line, BTS is drawing a new one. Would you like a fan letter response next? Or an imagined scene of BTS members reunited discussing this behind closed doors?